This is Weekend Handicapper from weekendhandicapper.com. In this video, we are going to learn about the different types of bets in horse racing. So if you're brand new to horse racing, if you're just looking to get into horse racing and want to know what kind of wagers, what kind of bets you have available to you to make, then this video is for you. We are going to learn about the different types of bets that you can make in horse racing and which are the best bets to make. Now, we are very lucky. In this day and age, we have all kinds of opportunities to make some money betting on horses. We have a vast wagering menu. A wagering menu is all the choices that you have available to you to make at the racetrack, or if you bet on your phone or at home on your computer. But essentially, all the bets are broken down into the following categories. You have straight bets, vertical bets, horizontal bets, and jackpot bets. So let's take a look at each one of those. Straight bets. Those are probably what you're most familiar with ever since they began horse racing. Different people racing different horses against each other. The object was for the horse to win. That's as simple as it gets. My horse is faster than your horse. I'm going to bet my horse is going to be faster than yours, and I'm going to bet that horse to win. So that's, at its most simplistic, the win bet is the most simple bet that you can make. But you also have place bets, and that is where your horse must finish first or second. So if you bet a horse to place, you're betting on that horse to finish first or second. If you bet your horse to show, your horse must finish first, second, or third. Now, as you see, I highlighted with an asterisk there in red those numbers. And the reason I did that is because if you bet a horse to win, you're going to get the payout in the win pool. If you bet a horse to place, even if it finishes first, you're only going to get the payouts that is in the place pool. And if you bet a horse to show, which is, again, it finishes first, second, or third, if that horse finishes third, then you get the payouts that are in the show pool. So how it works at the racetrack, each different wager has its own separate pool of money. So we all pool our money, put our money in this pool, and whoever wins gets the wager correct. They divide that pool by the number of people that had that combination or that particular wager. So even if your horse finishes first and you bet it to show, you're only going to get the third place payout or the show payout. And that's very important because, as you'll see throughout this video, the harder the bet, the more money that you win, and the easier the bet, the less money that you win. So naturally, it's easier to cash a ticket to come up with a horse that only has to finish first, second, or third than it is trying to pick a horse just to win. So therefore, you get more money when you have a win bet than you do a show bet. So that's a key thing to remember. So when you bet either win, place, or show, you're only going to get the payout of that particular pool that you bet into. Now, there is something called across the board that you might be familiar with, or you might have heard the term, but you're not sure what it is. So across the board is a wager that you make. It's essentially three different bets. You are betting on your horse to finish first, second, or third. And the fact that it's three different bets, you get rewarded for each of those placings. So that means if you pick the winner of the race and you bet that horse across the board, so let's say for $2 you made three bets, so 2 times 3 is 6. You bet $2 on your horse to win, $2 on your horse to come in second or to place, and $2 on your horse to finish third or to show. So that's $6. So if your horse wins, you cash on all 3 of those bets. However, if your horse finishes second, you win 2 of those 3 bets because that horse came in second and it did better than coming in third. But you bet it to show, and all you needed to do is to get the horse in at least the 3rd position or higher, and you did that so that you win 2 of the 3 bets. But if your horse finishes third, you only win 1 of those 3 bets, the show payout. So again, those 3 bets, the win, place, and show, your payouts come from different pools. And if you bet across the board, that means you're betting on each of those particular placings. But you only cash on the ones that you got right. So again, if you bet across the board, the horse wins, you win 3 out of 3 bets. If you bet across the board and your horse comes in second, you win 2 of the 3. And if you bet across the board and your horse finishes third, you win 1 of the 3 bets. Now, exotic bets. Exotic bets get a lot of action, get a lot of attention. But even within exotic bets, they are comprised of different categories. So what's an exotic bet? What's a fancy bet? It's a lot more than those simplistic win, place, show across the board bets. Exotic bets are bets that involve more than one horse. They're bets that involve multiple combinations of different horses. And they're bets that involve more than one race, or can involve bets that encompasses more than one race. So your different categories of exotic bets, you have vertical bets, horizontal bets, and jackpot bets. So let's look at each one of those. Vertical bets, or single race bets. That means all your bets are focused in on one race, one single race. Let's say the Kentucky Derby. Think of the Kentucky Derby. All you're trying to do is figure out particular combinations in the Kentucky Derby of one single race. So if you bet a horse in the exacta, an exacta wager, exacta bet is where you're trying to pick the horses that finished in the 2 top positions, the first place finisher and the second place finisher of a single race. So if you're betting a Kentucky Derby, if you had the winner of the Kentucky Derby and you had the horse that came in second, essentially you had the exacta. The next bet in a single race bet, vertical exotic bet, is a trifecta. Tri means 3. Think of tricep, tricycle. That means 3. Predict the first 3 finishers in a single race. You're trying to figure out what horse is going to come in first, second, and third. Superfectas. You're trying to predict the first 4 finishers in a single race. And pentafectas is where you're trying to predict the first 5 finishers in a single race. Now, different than vertical bets are horizontal bets. So instead of going up and down, you're going across the day of races. Just think of it when you're looking at a track program, you're looking at a past performances, you're looking at, all right, how many races are there? I'm going to try to string together the winners of 2 or more races. That's a horizontal bet. So if you try to pick the winner of 2 consecutive races, that's called the double. Used to be called the daily double. I guess it still is. If you're trying to figure out who's going to win 3 races in a row, all you have to do is pick the winner of 3 races in a row, 3 consecutive races in a row. That's a pick 3. 4 consecutive races in a row is pick 4. 5 consecutive races. The winners of 5 consecutive races is a pick 5. And the pick 6 is where you're trying to string together the winners of 6 consecutive races on a day of racing. And finally, we have jackpot bets. Think of these like the lottery type of bets in horse racing. These jackpot bets are a fairly recent addition to the wagering menu at racetracks. And this is essentially where you try to be the sole winner, a single winner of that particular bet. You can't, for the most part, these jackpot bets, you can't split it with other people. You have to be the only one that gets all the combinations right. A good example of a jackpot bet is the popular Rainbow Pick 6 bet at Gulfstream Park, where some days you can have carryovers and you have millions of dollars in the pool for somebody to take down. So those are jackpot bets. Those are a recent addition to horse racing. Very lucrative, but of course very hard to hit. So which bets should you make when betting on horses? Well, this comes down to a number of things. One of them is your temperament and your tolerance for risk. So think about your personality. Are you a risk taker? Are you pretty conservative? You hate to part with your money. If you don't come to the races that often, you want to try to lose as less as possible. Those sorts of things is something you need to kind of consider, because these different wagers have different scales of being able to hit it, which means cash those bets, get those bets right. But it also has the potential to make you a little bit of money or a lot of money. Think about your strengths and weaknesses. So if you handicap horses, or as you get used to handicapping horses and betting on horse racing, you'll know whether or not your skill set is better at just picking winners. So just coming up with the winners of horse races. And you can use those strategies and those skills to in the horizontal pools, the horizontal wagers. So your doubles, pick threes, pick fours, pick fives, pick sixes. If you're very selective and kind of specialize in one particular kind of race, whether that's the certain distance of a race, or if it's turf racing, if it's baby races, 2-year-old races you excel at, well, then you're not going to have, for the most part, 3 or 4 or 5 baby races, 2-year-old races back to back to back to back to back. Or you won't string together 2 or 3 turf races for the most part on a race day card. You usually have a dirt race, then a turf race, or 2 dirt races, then a turf race. So if you specialize in a particular wage or particular kind of race, and you're better at coming up with how one particular kind of race is ran, so like the pace of the race, then you might be better at vertical bets, the exactas, trifectas, superfectas, pentafectas. Another thing is your goals. Some people come to the racetrack and they just want to cash tickets. They don't want to lose money. So going back to the whole risk tolerance and temperament thing. So their goal might be to leave there with just as much money as they came in there with. And they're not even thinking about making a good size profit while they're at the racetrack. I've been with people, matter of fact, they go to the racetrack. I'm sitting there betting all kinds of stuff, and they're with their camera or walking around sightseeing and looking at the horses and stuff, and they could care less about even betting on a horse race. So that's their goal, is just to have a good time, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. So based on whether or not you want to make a lot of money, break even, or try to hang on to your bets or your money as much as possible when you make bets, that depends on your goals. And those goals, each one of those goals has wagers that are a good fit for each of those goals. Then your bankroll. If you don't have much of a bankroll and you bring $50, $100 to the track with you, then you're probably not going to be betting pick fives and pick sixes or superfectas. if you do have a nice size bankroll, and that gives you more opportunity to take more risk if you're comfortable taking more risk. If you don't want to bet too much money, but you want to go home, potentially being a winner, then win bets, place bets. If you like to bet place and show, if you want to get super conservative, bet and show bets, or exactas, daily doubles. Depends on your bankroll and what you're comfortable with is which bets to make. We're all different. We all have our preferences. We all have our own strengths, our own weaknesses. We are different personalities, and we have different risk tolerance. Of this, the more races that you are involved in as far as the wagers that you make, the bets that you make, the more races those bets are involved in, the harder it is to win. The more combinations. So again, the Kentucky Derby. Think about all those horses in a Kentucky Derby. There's a lot of possibilities. A lot of combinations could come through. So the more combinations you have, the harder it is to hit. As a rule, this isn't gospel truth or anything, but as a rule, the more horses you have in a race, the higher the payouts you're going to have because more possibilities and more combinations come through. It goes without saying, the lower the risk, you offers lower but more frequent payouts. So if you're somebody that likes to cash pretty frequently, then win bets, then exactas, then daily doubles, across the board bets. The lower the risk, the lower the payout typically, but the more frequent you're going to be going to the windows or cashing tickets. Now, conversely, greater the risk offers greater the reward. So you have men and women that might not cash a ticket all month long, but they cash a pick four, they hit that big trifecta, they hit that pick six that puts them in the black for years. And so but they're comfortable taking those risks. They're swinging for the fences. So they watch their friends, they watch their family members or their buddies that they go to the track with that are winning by playing more conservative wagers. They're going to the windows a lot, and that could take a toll on your psyche. But you can get better real quick if you play riskier wagers. Now, caveat to that, of course, is they cost more, and you run the risk of losing a lot more money than your counterpart that might bet the lower risk wagers. So that's the risk-reward relationship as it pertains to straight bets. The show bet, the place bet are the conservative ones. The win bet is the more risky of those straight bets. Then your vertical bets in terms or on a scale of easiest to hit, lowest payout, to hardest to hit, greater the payout. You go from exactas, trifectas, superfectas, and pentafectas. Horizontal bets, and in regards to the risk-reward relationship, the double is the easiest. You'll hit it a lot more, but you'll get paid less than you would typically for a pick three. And pick four is a little bit harder and more profitable typically than the double and pick three. And your pick five is riskier than the pick four. And of course, the pick six is more riskier than the pick four and pick three, and so on and so forth. So know that risk-reward relationship as it pertains to the different kinds of wagers. And of course, the jackpot bets are titled that for a reason. Those big jackpots, of course, they're hard to hit. I can't speak for all racetracks, but typically you got the same kinds of wagers at each track. Now, the minimum increments, which is your base wager, the minimum that you can bet, might be different at your track. Some tracks allow $1 win bets for a minimum. Others, it's $2 minimum to bet a horse to win, place, or show. Some tracks, you have 50-cent pick threes. Some you might have $1 as the minimum increment. So know whatever tracks you play, look at the wagering options that you have. You can find it on their website, on track programs, on your past performances, on your ADW online wagering accounts if you have one. You should be able to see what kind of bets are offered and what kind of increments at the tracks that you play. Again, understand the risk-reward relationship. Pick the wagers that are a good fit for your temperament and your risk tolerance. If you're comfortable swinging for the fences and taking some risk in the hopes that you're going to only need to win a few kinds of wagers throughout the year to make it a nice, profitable year, then you want to bet those kind of wagers. You're not going to reach your goal betting lower risk options in terms of wagers. If you're somebody that is very scared to take risk, then you want to bet accordingly with those low risk, low profit wagers. But above all, have fun and make the bets that you enjoy. This is an entertainment. It's supposed to be fun to go to the racetrack or bet the horses. It's a good time. It's even a better time when you win. And winning is relative to the person. Some mean winning means winning beer money or winning enough to break even for the day. Others, it means really making a lot of money when you're betting on horses. So different people have different ways to have fun, and they have different kinds of bets that match those goals of having fun. So I've known plenty of people that have just as good a time when they don't walk away with a lot of money and they broke even for the day. They had just as good a time. Oh, I shouldn't say that. That's getting a little out of hand. I wouldn't say they had just as good a time for those that made a lot of money at the racetrack that day, but they had fun and they were comfortable taking those lower risk, more conservative bets because they wouldn't be as comfortable making those high risk bets. So whatever you do, have fun. Horse racing is meant to be fun. Make the bets that you enjoy and enjoy your day at the track or your day of betting. So this is the Weekend Handicapper from weekendhandicapper.com. If you hadn't already, I appreciate it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get all the latest tips, tools, and resources to help you make money on thoroughbred horse racing. Until next time, happy handicapping and smart wagering.